Off top, there are 17 players in the Basketball Hall of Fame who have played in fewer than 500 games. Play music.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.
All right, welcome to the Domonique Foxworth Show. I'm joined by a very special guest, and I think we have to get the record straight also with my special guest, who is the great Bomani Jones, host of The Right Time, which is still one of my favorite shows. I'm really enjoying the rap episodes, which, I mean, where does the expertise stop? But anyway, I want everybody to know that Joel Anderson, a respected journalist, came on here and lied on my man Bomani Jones.
He absolutely lied on me. And I want to run this through for people just so that, and why it's important for me to clarify the fact that he lied on me. And this actually makes me think that I got to be careful because apparently Joel is much more sensitive about his weight than he should be.
Yeah.
Joel is my very good friend. I talk to Joel a lot, and Joel got 2 kids, and I worry about Joel taking enough time for himself in the midst of all his responsibilities. And one thing I know that's important to him is working out, and he say he don't have time to work out like that. And it's funny because I find 30 minutes that he could work out just in the time that he spent getting riled up on the internet, right? And so Joel implied, and he said that I said something to him about how he need to mix the salad in there, here and there. And there are 2 reasons why this bothers me, right? Number one, if I was going to do that, I'd say something about getting in the gym, right? Not about the diet thing.
Also, I feel like you'd be a little bit more original. Like, mix the salad in.
Come on, man. I would never do that. Come on. I mean, my material, I think, is much stronger than that. And number 2, I have a full-on understanding and recognition that I don't get to joke with people about that.
That's the real one, yeah.
Yeah, like I need people to recognize my self-awareness. I don't do that. There's a dude that hates me who is obese, and whenever anybody has anything to say about him, and yes, that's what I'm talking about. Anytime anybody has anything to say about him and they talk about him being obese, I immediately say, hey, come on, man. We ain't got to do that because I can't participate in that. And Joel came out here talking about Bomani saying, why don't you mix the salad in there? That's what Joel be telling himself.
He said
that he needs to mix the salad in there.
At some point, I want to get back to my off top, see if you got any guesses about any of the players who are in the Hall of Fame who played fewer than 500. There's a bunch of names that I don't recognize, but fewer than 500 games. But the Joel thing, he said that you said something that was like to that effect. So like,
but even still, I would never do
that.
And
that's what I was thinking too. Like that, or I was thinking, I brought it up on the show. Like, this is kind of a punch down move. Like, I was kind of surprised. Like, there's a punch. There's some areas where you can punch. That's not one you get away with.
Nah, I would never do that. I would never do that.
The guy who you despise, I feel like I think people would forgive you. They would allow that.
They would, and I still won't do it. Now, 2 guesses on the under 500 games off the top of my head. One of them is Bill Walton.
Nailed it.
One of them is Yao Ming.
Nailed it.
After that, boy, this got to be some old timers.
Yeah, it's a lot of old timers whose names I don't recognize, but see, Sabonis gets in.
Oh, Sabonis is on there?
Because
I feel like that
don't really count.
I feel like once we started talking about them imports, right, that got here a little bit late, I don't feel like that's
Ralph Sampson and George Mikan. I recognize those names.
Okay. Ralph Sampson, whom I guess the college thing, NBA Ralph Sampson doesn't belong in. George Mikan absolutely does belong in. Have you ever seen any clips of George Mikan?
No. I mean, all I really know about George Mikan is the Mikan drill.
Right, but imagine how amazing it was in those days to see a man like the size of George Mikan do the George Mikan drill. It's like, who was the first person to do the crossover dribble? It don't seem impressive now.
But to be fair, the Mikan drill, for me at least, is one of those things that's harder than it looks. Like, I know it looks really easy.
It is.
And I am capable of pulling it off, but I ain't going to break it out with people around. Like, I've done it by myself just to make sure. It took some practicing to get it down, which, like, the basketball players, I try to be pretty honest about this. We get into this every now and then where we talk about who are the best, most impressive athletes, and it's kind of a dumb debate. But when I really start to calculate it, like, I always end up with basketball players. Like, the size, athleticism, coordination combination is just – because, like, soccer players, normal-sized dudes for the most part. Really fast. Football players, our pool is so small that it's hard to really be like, obviously they're elite athletes, but we're not competing with the world. So it's hard to be like they're the most exceptional. The basketball players now have a world's game and they 7 feet.
Yeah, and them dudes is huge.
Yeah.
I think there's a drastic misunderstanding of how huge those guys are.
I'm reminded every offseason when football players go to the games, and we always see clips of, like, I don't know, Myles Garrett dapping somebody up. Myles Garrett is the biggest, most intimidating human being in the NFL. And then when he be dapping up power forwards in the NBA, it's like, oh, yeah, Myles Garrett's 6'5".
Well, also, let me tell you who's not as small as it seems, and that is whoever in the NBA it is that you call skinny. Yeah. For example, that 2007 Kevin Durant was one thing. Kevin Durant's a really big dude, right? Like he's not, like, it's not that skinny don't mean, they're not me.
Yeah, nah, it is too. It's like, it's the perception of it. So it's like, and Vic, obviously very slim guy, but the size of his muscles on his frame look small because he's 7'3". Go try to grab Vic's arm. You're not gonna be able to wrap your hand around it like you think. You know,
no.
Like, those people are like massive and explosive and impressive athletes. Seeing Zion play again and jump out the gym, it made me, like, I know the dunk contest was not really much celebrated this year and it hasn't been in a while and probably dead by the time you start G Leaguers are winning in back-to-back years. But I feel like Zion would bring him out. I know Matt Ishbia talked about $1 million incentive to get people to participate in the dunk contest. Do you think Zion would bring him out for the dunk contest? I might care.
You know, I got to be honest with you. Until you started asking that, I had not really thought about it. And I just realized as you were saying that, somebody giving that boy Zion some bad advice, because he should have been begging to be in the dunk contest. He could get everybody back. In fact, he's the dude in the NBA that we know. Like, our introduction to Zion was when he was a teenager out here dunking. The idea that, look, maybe he's been hurt every time, but like the idea that he has never been in the All-Star game dunk contest is crazy. He can start winning people back over. Because look, man, a big part of this gets to what we was talking about on the top, man. People on one hand are mean to fat people, but people really love fat basketball players who are good. Everybody loves a fat basketball player that can jump out the gym.
Yeah, I think our buddy Charlie Kravitz was pointing out to me how no one quite looks as good dunking as Vince Carter, which, like, brought to mind that, like, the dunk contest is not that different than, like, gymnastics or figure skating or diving, and that it's a judging sport and it's about the performance of like athleticism, but it's also, at least to us in the dunk contest, it's about what it looks like.
Yeah, it's about form and grace.
Yeah. and so many of these guys can do really difficult dunks, but I don't think we care as much about the difficulty as we care about how it looks, because that's what makes us feel like great. And of course, Vince Carter's dunk looked crazy because he jumped like he was crazy. And, like, of course, smaller guys, better chance of winning dunk contests because it looks absurd. Zion falls into that same category as, like, this never stops looking incredible. After all these years and all his injuries, I see him block a shot near the top of the box in the game against, who were playing, the Warriors a couple nights ago. Like, it's him dunking still, it's just so big and so fast off the ground.
No, he's still amazing, right? And considering how many injuries he has had, it's crazy that he can still do some of the things that he can do. It's also interesting. He has played, like, his longest stretch of basketball that he has played. Like, his story, I mean, he went to Duke. So I got all kinds of things that, like, can cloud what I think about him. But I find his story to be, like, I think that it is a teachable moment, his whole thing, in ways that we haven't talked enough about. I'll never forget this. It's 2019. I went to Vegas for Summer League. It's me and my good buddy Michael Smith, right? And we had red-eye flights out Sunday night, and we about to go to the airport. And we standing out there, and this cat walks up on Mike, And it was also funny because Mike had been off TV for a little while. And so Mike was so happy to be recognized by all these people while I'm fleeing all of this unwanted attention, right? So anyway, this guy walk up on Mike and is like, yeah, man, I met you in Connecticut, and keeps going. And Mike is a very nice man. And so he's carrying it out. He's like, the guy says, I'm Zion's day. Okay. And so we talked to him for a little bit. Zion comes over. Zion, like, you know, people be talking about how Charles Barkley is like 6'4", and that is absolutely not true. Charles Barkley is a legit 6'6". Like, you keep making him smaller to make him better. Zion was taller than I expected because it felt like people were talking him down, right? And so met him. He was very nice. He goes away. And I'll just never forget the way that his father talked about how reluctant they were to let him become independent and, like, leave the nest. That I believe was a foreshadowing moment for a lot of the chaos that was in his life, right? Like, I don't know how you balance it, but they got it wrong. I don't think there's any question about they got it wrong. And so in this era and age of super duper helicopter parenting, where people like Zion is like, at some point, if you don't give them some game before they get out, there's a million things that can happen. And then we start talking about the injuries, and then we start talking about the physical conditioning and everything else. It's like, yeah, all of it runs together. And so he should have been, or it feels like he should have been, a phenomenon, right? Or even if he ended up on that list of them guys with less than 500 games.
Would you consider, I mean, I guess it's not that early in his career. Normally by this point for a first round pick, we would have a determination on whether he busted or not. I feel like we have to give his career up until this point the bust qualifications, but he doesn't quite feel like a bust. It still feels like an incomplete. Or with all the information that you have, are you just going to go ahead and write it off?
I typically avoid
that terminology.
Well, no. I avoid that terminology when the primary issue has been injury. Right? I mean, he's a 2-time All-Star. He was a legitimate, like, all-NBA contender that first year he made the All-Star team. He has some incredible numbers when you look at them. Like, Anthony Bennett, that guy was
busted. Disappointment. He's definitely been a disappointment.
He's definitely a disappointment.
Bust is not fair.
There's no way around it. Like bust, I wouldn't go that far. But I do think, probably more in line with the question that you're asking, I do think there's time for this to come around for him to be a guy who has, like, a good career. It also helps him out that the number 2 pick after him has been his own brand. And so you know, that helps a lot.
It does help because they should have took that other guy.
Right. That's it's a fun game for us to play. Like, what would have happened if Ja Morant turned out in New Orleans and Zion turned out in Memphis? The truth of that is, I'm not sure that Ja Morant's still in the NBA.
That's fair. He ain't. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. The thing that, I mean, Derek Queen, my momentary terp that they have now, like, I think what is most interesting about the Zion conversation to me is that he was going to be a guy, like one of the guys that the league, it felt like he was going to be one of the guys that the league was built around, one of the storylines that we would care about. Like, the idea that Zion played 26 games in a row is a big deal now, but, like, early in his career, we were going, like, those were the games I was tuning in for. The way I'm watching Vic now, it was like Zion. So, like, him not being that, and I feel like we're at the point now where it's probably fair to assume that he not going to be, like, the best player on a championship team. And the question is, what do you do? I mean, the Pelicans could trade him, or they can continue to, he's young enough, obviously, to continue to build, but you're not going to build around him. I don't think. He's not reliable enough.
No, and even if he wasn't, like, the best player on a champion. Right? Yeah, well, even if he wasn't, well, not good enough, I think, is on the board, right? But even if he wasn't the best player on a championship team, it felt like he would be, like, fun to watch is good enough. You know what I mean? Like, Dominique Wilkins is a legendary NBA figure who was not good enough to be the best player on a championship team. He never got past the second round, right? But it's okay. Like, human highlight film, baby. Go look at them dunks. Like, different people contribute different things. And because he's missed so much time, it feels like we've got nothing. And it would be, like, imagine in 5 years explaining to somebody what a phenomenon his year at Duke was.
It was it, man.
It was a thing, man.
Thing.
It was a real thing. And when he got to the league and he missed all that time early, it was a thing when he finally got out there that year. And they played well. And then that next year, he was an all-star, and then he got hurt. And the next year, he was all-star, and then he got hurt. Like, he's put some results up. Like, we have seen the promise. But now it's just kind of like, what would he have to do to like really break through? Like, how good would the Pelicans have to get for us to really pay attention?
Honestly, like it might be a cheat to say it's about the playoffs, but like I feel like the playoffs is when like people really solidify themselves as a class we should care about. But I honestly think that at this point, if they ripped off 4 or 5 in a row and beat some good teams, we would start to pay attention. The problem is his lack of defense and shooting ability and just the youth of the roster, like they still aren't really, even with him playing, they aren't performing like a top of the league team.
They're awful. They're awful.
They're fun to watch though.
They are fun to watch. They've been awful this year. Now they put Queen on the bench now, right? Mm-hmm. Like they started DeAndre Jordan, but they got better when they did that. It is worth noting. They got my man Trey Murphy, Durham, Bull City. You know what I'm saying? Got him out there. But that's just a franchise or perpetual mediocrity, dog.
I don't know. What do you think would happen? Or do you think it's possible, like, for us to care about the Zion thing in a way that we all locked in?
No, I don't know if we're all locked in, but I do think this. If the Pelicans had a year where Zion was their best player, and let's say they're in a non-play-in situation, right? They're like 6 seed or better. I think we start looking up and we're like, hey, what do you know? That's Zion. Remember him? Yeah, okay. And then I think you're right. A couple of good games in the playoffs, and maybe it'll go from there, man. But the apparently lazy, overweight guy is not an archetype that people really get behind. Our puritanic culture cannot do that.
No, they can't. There's 2 things that you said that brought up questions for me. One is the Duke stigma gone? Like, I know that you still carry it, and people our age and older certainly still remember it, but like, I don't actually think, I mean, every university should have a similar Duke stigma, but we get away from it with time. It feels like the Duke stigma might be gone.
Oh, so for whatever reason, and it's not that reason, I did not really lay that one upon him. RJ Barrett, I absolutely did. Zion, not so much. Like, that's always a fun list for people like me, is like the Duke guys that don't really bother you that much.
It's the Grant Hill list, essentially.
Yeah, but he's a Duke guy. Like, let's get that straight.
It's the football in me that makes me want to give him a pass.
I mean, his dad was a Yale guy. You know what I mean? No, he was an awesome player, but he's a Duke guy. Elton Brand, that wasn't really a Duke guy. Corey Maggette, that wasn't really a Duke guy. Chris Carrawell, not really a Duke guy. The rest of them, Duke guys.
Duke guys through and through. All right, the other question I had, I think on this show at least, we've spent a lot of time talking about like how things are evolving around us in sports. And like at this age, I feel like I'm at the perfect age where you can see what it was, how you liked it in the past, and see where it's going. And it's interesting to talk about all that stuff. But you said something about the Dominique Wilkins, and obviously, special player to me, my namesake, incredible and awesome. I don't remember, and it might be because the media wasn't as aggressive or I wasn't as locked in on the media stuff, but I do remember a feeling where just being awesome and fun, like we accept it once you settled into your place. That doesn't feel like that exists anymore.
No, there's no role for that.
I had this argument on Get Up. We ended up not doing the topic on the show, but like, they're like, shouldn't Max Crosby want to force his way out of Las Vegas? And I was like, I get it, but no. What if he like it there?
Right. Look, remember I talked about this on the show yesterday. I had golf on Wednesday, and I was like, hey man, who was that we were talking about? We talking about Myles Garrett. Yeah. Hey, remember, Myles Garrett showed up at the Super Bowl last year wanting to trade. And then the Browns were like, how about some money? And he was like, this is what it'll be. Now, look, if Max Crosby want to come play for America's team, Detroit Lions, and we can have the Caucasian connection at ends.
That'd be great.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it could work out. I don't really want to so much talk to them about the world necessarily, but when it's just time to go make something happen, take some of that out on Caleb Williams. That's fine. You know what I mean? Like you know, time and place for everything. But I'm with you, especially. Like with basketball, if you're a certain caliber of player, you should feel like you're good enough to really swing it. In football, Max Crosby plays the second most important position in the league, and clearly it doesn't matter that much. Yeah, if he likes Las Vegas, stick around, make it be the man for that franchise. There's a value in that.
I think that we all are conditioned to behave in a certain way as players, and there are certain things that are okay to say and not okay to say, but also know that not everybody is saying the truth. And there's some guys that are like, yeah, championship be dope, but I mean, I like this place, which is fine to me. I don't know.
Well, it's like when people ask the question, whose career would you rather have, Robert Horry or Charles Barkley? Everybody who says Robert Horry is lying or stupid. Those are your two options. You're a liar or you're a fool. Which one are you taking?
I mean, I was trying to create an argument. I like a good challenge. I really can't put together an argument for to take Robert Horry's career. I mean, he did hit big shots in big games. What do you know, with 7 titles?
Good for him. Yeah, he got 7 titles, man. And look, man, the rings that you don't wear nowhere. Yeah. Dog, there's something exactly. You're right. It's like being the man.
Rings that you wear that you don't wear anywhere. Like people, if it matters, if this is about like prestige and history and stuff. People see Charles Barkley's face, and they like, oh. Yes. People see Robert Horry, and they like, ain't you, right? Like, with the exception of, like, sports fans, they like, you tall, and they see Charles Barkley, they start rattling off nicknames, which I know has something to do with him being on TNT, but him being on TNT, it's because he was Charles Barkley.
Yeah, he was really famous, on the front end. Like, you ever been out with Chuck?
No.
It's fun.
I'm sure.
It's fun. Like Charles Barkley appears to be having a good time all the time.
You've managed to do this to a degree, but there are people, normally you fit into a specific category, and so then when you're in that category, you have to behave in that way. Charles Barkley has created this environment where it's okay for him, and it's almost expected for him to be exactly who he is. And I imagine it's a pretty cool place to be when you could get in trouble and everybody like, oh, Chuck.
Dude, I've heard Chuck say, the wildest thing I've ever heard Charles Barkley say, I don't even want to say on here because I know it would be a controversy. And the fact that it never got out, and by the way, when I heard him say this, it was in a public space. It was in a room full of people. Like, I would not be betraying a public confidence if I did that. But it was so wild that I know it would be a gigantic problem. But all of us apparently made the decision of, oh, Charles.
That's Charles Barkley's got it figured out. I do think that I wanted to get back to the dunk contest thing for a second. Did you see that Matt Ishbia said he would put $1 million up? Yeah. It annoyed me. I don't know. Like,
well, what part? Because the part that annoyed me, first of all, $1 million isn't enough. But like, I think the part that annoyed me is it shouldn't be that. I just can't believe that nobody at all wants to do it.
So what annoyed me, like I could believe nobody wants to do it. It's like it's a tough job that don't pay well. So like you got to entertain all these people for $50,000 and do dunks that nobody ever seen before. Like I could get not wanting to do it. But the reason why it annoyed me, I think, is and I'm gonna pledge not to complain about the NBA for the rest of the season. But I think that it annoyed me because it feels like this is consistent with one of the things that's frustrated me about this league in particular is their constant reliance on this idea. It's like fake smart guy where I think the word incentive, you as an economist, I imagine, are more frustrated by this than anyone. And I feel like I have been... Since I went to business school, we talked a lot about incentives. I looked at the world differently, thought about incentives, and that's like 10 years ago now. Talked about it a lot, looked at everything differently about incentives. Now it feels like it's become like a smart guy buzzword, the same way everybody was like, I'm a money ball this thing. And it just became like code for smart. I feel like incentives is code for smart now. And they think that we just got to tweak the incentives. And they don't take into account that there are other incentives that matter. And by continuing to tweak the incentives and everything that you tweak and tweaking, it cheapens this. Like, anything that is solid and foundational and feels good, we ain't tweaking all the time because it's good. And it just feels like it has a deleterious effect on all of this stuff where you're just like, oh, let's tweak here, tweak it there.
A little money will fix everything, right, is the idea. Now, look, Myles Garrett, but that's not what we're talking about here. So this is my question, and I'm
that wasn't a little money,
this,
by the way. I'm sorry.
But I'm asking this, and I think it's largely because I'm somebody who does not have children, so there are spaces that I'm not in. But I raised this question as kind of a general hypothesis that I may write about at some point, which is these cats that make it to the league, how often do they just play basketball for fun? Right. And the reason I ask that is, like, I was talking to a guy who worked with a college program at one point, and they say, like, their issue is, it's not that these guys play too much basketball, right? Like, this has been a discussion with the overuse injuries and everything else. And it's like, the issue isn't them playing basketball. The issue is all this time they're spending with trainers. And so where people of our age just kind of hoop for the sake of hooping, and that's where you got it, everything is so focused because the money is so different now, and it's much more of a goal-oriented sort of situation. But, like, I live in New York City. I don't ever walk past anybody playing basketball. Right? Just outside, like, go past Morningside Park. How often do you just see somebody that's just over there hooping for the sake of hooping, right? And so I bring that up in the context of the dunk contest because stuff like the dunks or whatever, like, you do that just, like, messing around with your partners. Just, it's purely for a good time. It doesn't serve any other purpose than just for being kind of fun, and there's, like, a certain level of personality that comes with doing that. So we were talking about, like, the Domonique Wilkins or the guys that were just fun to watch. There aren't that many dudes out here that I watch. Like, Kyrie Irving feels like the last one in this. They just have a really fun game to watch. Like, Kyrie's OG is Rod Strickland. People our age love Rod Strickland. You could love a guy that wasn't that good because it wasn't necessarily about that. It was about, like, the personality. And that stuff in your game is not developed via a trainer. That is developed independently. Like, I was reading this book that made this point that we got a really terrible confluence in our society right now where you leave your kids completely unmonitored on the internet, but totally surveilled in real life. But a big part of doing stuff as kids on your own in real life is testing the limits and doing what it is that you want to do and then folding it back in. But if everything you do around basketball is with a trainer, then the dunk contest ain't going to do nothing for you because to you, basketball is not a creative endeavor. And what attracted people our age so much to basketball is how much of a creative endeavor it is. Like, I did this set for this documentary my buddy Ozzy's doing for CNN the other day, and he was like, what is it that makes basketball so dope? And I was like, basketball is the closest thing to making music as you have. You have you have all these things that have to be done to make a song, just like you have all these things you need to do to make a team, and you've got 5 different instruments there, like you might have 5 different instruments in a band, but there is no rule that says who has to keep time. There is no rule that says who has to do the melody, but somehow we put all these things together, but that is the work of the creative mind. Basketball has definitely not been taken over by the creatives, right? It's been taken over by the analytics people and just basically see this as a way to get money.
That's a hell of a question, though. Like, what you started with was, like, how often or when's the last time or do they ever, like, play basketball for fun? And I think that goes back to all of us thinking about our perception. It started to shift of, like, how you get to the NBA or the type of person who plays in the NBA or plays in the NFL. It shifted. And, like, maybe the type of person might have changed before our perception changed. But now the perception is very clear that it's the son of another, like, high-level basketball player on mom or dad, you or both. You son of a high-level athlete, and you've been spotted early, and they trained you from the beginning. The way that it used to be is like, or at least the way that we thought it was you went to school, then you was better than everybody at your grade. And they're like, hey, we in the 5th grade. He taller than the 7th graders, and they can't do nothing about him. We see what happened when he get to the 9th grade. Then in the 9th grade, oh, oh, they made it to the championship with a freshman number. This guy might be something special. And then the money comes out and they give you a duffel bag to go play for Calipari or something. And then you play for 2-3 years and it all builds. And it's because the reason why I guess you start at that young age is because it's fun.
Yeah.
Because it's fun.
Like you should just hoop all the time.
Yeah.
Like I'll never forget once. Somebody put something on the internet that was like, why was it like why were y'all walking around wearing shorts under your jeans? Like a game might break out at any point. And some dude said, well, speaking for myself, because I was. Every day it was possible that we just may wind up hooping.
Oh, getting my driver's license was incredible because then I had a trunk. Then I had a trunk to keep my shoes in. I didn't have to carry basketball shoes with me. And I didn't even play basketball in high school because I started to focus on football. But, like, my basketball was so important to, like, my upbringing. To your point about going out and learning from mistakes and stuff. In the summer, once we, like, my mom worked at a summer camp so we could go for free. Once we was too old to do that, but too young to get a job, there was like 3-4 summers in there where I would ride my bike every day to the basketball court, and all the little black boys in the neighborhood would do the same thing, and it would be a full day, every day, playing basketball, going to the highs to get something to drink, getting into some trouble, somebody fighting. It was like some like movie. And like a bunch of the experience I had, that was when somebody got a hold of a little tape that had like that was when all this little boy was happening. People letting off firecrackers. We have to run from the police. Like all this little boy was happening. Then I'm fully on get off my lawn at this point. Now they just on the internet.
but that is to me, that does affect like the basketball and what all this stuff ultimately becomes. Because if you look at basketball as a job, and somebody once made the point to me that the second that you change schools for basketball has become a job, right? Like those prep school guys are always the ones that were itching. Like it has always been established that once basketball is so clearly established as a means to an end, right? Like this is when it becomes a job. And that sounds like all of them at this point. There are people out here leaving their kids back a grade and all of this because the money, and now it's only going to get more pronounced because the possibility of making millions of dollars playing college basketball now exists. So the odds and the math are much different.
People are reclassing, and it is like, I guess to the point where I like push back on how we over-focus on incentives. It's pretty clear that we're reacting, or at least as a sports fan society, we're reacting to the financial incentives pretty aggressively with the way that, there's no other job, man. I guess acting, nothing else other than entertainment that you start training for at 8 years old. Because that's what they're doing.
Yeah. But this is the question I have about it. I'm curious what you think about this. I still believe within this era of all this training and everything else, I still believe that nothing's going to get you there quite like natural physical endowment. That you can develop this all the way and everything else. But it's still going to be somebody, and I guess these stories don't exist anymore. Like Amari Stoudemire didn't play organized basketball until 10th grade or something like that. But you're not going to tell me that if Amari Stoudemire emerged from the woods in 10th grade, that the outcomes are not basically the same.
I think so. It's funny because like the athletic director at the schools that my kids go to talking about how much he loves me as a parent. And he was like, because so many other parents come in and say, my kid's not getting better. My kid's not getting special training. How's my kid going to be able to do this, that, and other if he not getting better, if you're not focused on it, blah, 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 blah. I coached my son's flag football team for 3 years. I don't do it anymore, but I would have a similar thing where dads would be like, so what are you teaching them? How we going to, it's such a great opportunity to learn from you. And I, unlike the athletic director, I'll be straight with the parents. Look, man, I can't give it to him. He ain't got it. He ain't got it, man. Like football is and this is where like I probably steer too far in the other direction where it's like, I want them to want to win. I want them to get better, but I want them to look back on this and be like, I had a great time with my brothers. We felt like a team. I don't want them to look back on this and be like, man, Coach Foxworth sure got me so much better, because like there's the coaching can get you better by, like, if we say 2-3 percentage points. That's what it's doing for you. And that matters when everybody is 95.
Right.
Right now, when you 10, 11, when I was coaching these boys playing football, like, look, that dude better than you. He's a 80, you a 60. All my coaching might get you to a 65. How about we focus on having fun?
Yes. No, that's not everybody. We making them all professionals, right? And so I've been thinking about this in the context of college basketball, because I heard you and Joel talking about Darren Peterson. And I think that our society looks at it as, hey, you getting paid, so now you got to ... which makes, I would just say that about your own money, right? Like, but I get the argument. But the problem is, just because you are paying those guys like they are professionals, they not pros, man. They're not pros because they 18. So my thought was, if you make the decision to leave college and go to the NBA, then you have decided that you are a man, right? Like, you have decided that you want to live in a way and be treated like a man. I don't think that you should be forced into manhood at 19. But that's what college basketball is going to be. Like this, we're going to fine you for being late and stuff like that. That's not how you do this with kids that age, but the money becomes such a complicating factor, and that's all going to it's all just going to keep walking back to where is there room for you to be a child playing a sport?
We got guys, and I live in D.C., and basketball is big in this area, and of course in Maryland, like, it's a big deal. We had players load managing their way out of championship games. It's like high school players. It's like, producer sent me a story a couple of days ago about a guy who came out for warm-ups, championship game. I was like, nah, not playing in the finals. And there's a couple guys. It's just going to keep trickling down into
that is so
high school, man.
Wild.
Which is
me.
And that's the thing is, for me at least, like I remember having gone through this experience, and I guess other people, even if you're not an athlete, you just know that your world just gradually gets bigger. So it's like when you're in elementary school, it's like, whatever, this is just your little world. It's all you really know. And like, I felt that way about sports also. I didn't have the perception. So like, I wouldn't cry if like today, I don't shed tears because I didn't win the championship in the 10th grade, or when I was 10 years old. We lost to the Northwood Rams, who was a feeder for Dunbar. And boys was tough. We lost to them in the championship game. I cried. That was our second loss of the year. Because my world was so small, that's all that mattered. And although we did beat them in the championship 2 years later, and then my 8th grade year, we beat them in the championship too, so we got them boys. But anyway, that's because my world was that big. But it feels like because we know what the end goal is, that already it feels like this all feels like small potatoes to them. It's like high school, I know that this don't matter. College, I know this. I got to win NBA titles. I got to make $250,000 or $250 million in the first 3 years of my career. It feels like it's just their world has gotten so big so fast.
Well, I'm curious, how far down that mentality trickles, right? And so when I say that, I'll never forget my sophomore year of high school. I was the manager of the basketball team. It was a combination of two factors. One, I started growing and it messed my knees up. And two, but so good. It was like, okay, basketball. And I love being a manager of the basketball team because really what I wanted to do was be around basketball, right? Like there was a way to do it without playing. Okay, cool. That's what I did. And I will never forget the last game of that year. It was a road game for our squad, and we had started the year. Well, I can't say we because I wasn't on the team, but I feel like when you went to the school, you could say we, right? We had started the year with great expectations, and now it was coming down to a winner-take-all game. The winner won the district. The loser did not go to the playoffs. And I will never forget for the life of me how packed that gym was, how hot that gym was, how loud that gym was, and how miserable it felt when our school lost, right? Nothing else in the world seemed to matter at that point, right? Like nothing at all. And part of one of the cool things about getting older is your recognition that the world is much bigger than you thought it was. But I don't think I ever, until recently, appreciated how valuable it was to not know that and to actually think that basketball game was the only thing that mattered in the world.
It feels great. And it makes it when it works out in your favor, it feels so much better. And when it doesn't, it hurts so bad. I remember my last high school football game. Like I was going to get a scholarship and going on and whatever, and still fully believed I was going to play professionally. But at that moment, that felt bad, man. It was like, these are my guys, 4 years. Y'all ain't never playing no more, and I ain't playing with y'all no more. It hurt.
Like not everybody's supposed to think that sports is a lick. Right? Like for some people, and you knew who they were, right? It's okay for them to think that way. Everybody else is just supposed to be like, you know how cool it is to be on the team. Like, I was watching not your Aaron Hernandez show, but I think it was the Netflix doc. I can't remember which one. And I ain't gonna lie, I kind of clowned this, but it's wild how important that semi-pro football team was to those guys, right? Like, it's ridiculous to feel that way as an adult with a football team. Do you guys even have insurance, right? Like, what are you doing out here? But it's just like, this is some of the sad I've ever seen. Why are y'all so serious about this football team that ain't even a football team? What are you doing? But as a 16-year-old, that's really kind of dope.
It is.
Right? But they believed in football. These other cats, they believed in football so much. They had a team, they had camaraderie.
Oh my gosh.
Who am I to say that's not important to them, right? Like, and I had to kind of step back, stupid though I think it was, but to appreciate the charm of the fact that we all choose what we believe in, and they decided that team was something to believe in.
It's a short life. Like, I mean, you gotta, and
they want to be on the football team,
they want to make it shorter.
So they started
want to make it shorter and more painful. But if it makes it more valuable, that like I was joking on our group chat the other day where it's like, what? I mean, what's all this longevity stuff? I'm trying to see me a quality black 90, which is 65, 70, and have a good time, man. What I need to be 80, 85 for. Like, that's what it feels like some of this stuff is. But I think all this stuff kind of exists on a continuum where, like, professionalizing sports, like, it's gotten it so much better in so many ways. But also, like, the other end of the spectrum where it's like, the less professional stuff that I'm talking about with like great joy and nostalgia, like it can go too far too. And I would say that if you got a full-time job and you still snapping up a helmet, nah, stop it right now. This game is too dangerous. Go play men's league basketball. Go ahead, do that. Flag football.
I am not like this is I found too. I enjoy sports just for being awe-inspiring. Yeah. Right. I enjoy sports as a way to discuss culture. I do not enjoy sports as a way to talk about business. Right. And that's I think a lot of the way we talk about sports, including just this emphasis on, hey man, you got your chance to be rich. Right? That's a business concession. And that part I don't think is that interesting. And I think it is far less interesting, even if you go there. It was one thing when this was a game of poor people coming up and making something of themselves. That is going away. And I gotta be honest, there's nothing charming about a bunch of rich kids.
Yeah. It still exists in football. I think the quarterback position has like evolved to a point where it's a lot of early training because of financial situation. But generally, the risk and danger of football, they left that to us. It's like boxing. It's like, hey, you got to get out the mud. But in basketball,
right, and poor white people don't think they poor, so they don't think to pick themselves up by their bootstraps and put on some cleats and improve their situations.
That still exists in football. And I think you're right. Money and business in sports is something that you want to be hidden. The only like money stories in sports that are pretty good is like when you buy your mom a house, that's awesome. When you get drafted, the act of getting drafted itself isn't that awesome. And I guess getting drafted now that guys are getting millions of dollars in college, like that don't even feel cool.
That's a great point.
But
that's just another job.
Those milestones felt awesome at some point. Like for a spectator, like this is cool. You see the whole family cry, and it's like those pinnacle moments that feel like, or I guess like more like landmark moments. Those feel special because of the money involved in it. The rest of it, like I want the business hidden from me, and I don't know. I hear all this. I mean, not completely hidden. I find it interesting to talk about, but we're a franchise tag time right now.
Yeah.
And Pickens conversation keeps coming up, and it drives me a little nuts how I think this also falls in the category of people say the thing they think makes them sound smart. Mm-hmm. And I think or sound shrewd. Like, we got to franchise tag him and do that. Like, I think feels shrewd, and I don't actually think it is. And it frustrates me to some degree. I understand it, but I don't like it.
So I'm curious why you do not think it is shrewd.
Okay. I don't think it is. I think, obviously, absolutes are for children and idiots. So there are times when it is shrewd. I think as a general rule.
Okay, you're not talking particularly about Pickens.
No. Pickens is a more complicated situation.
Yes, it is. Because I'm tagging his so fast, it's ridiculous.
You're tagging him for a different reason, I think. So, like, you're tagging him because you want to see it again. Let's do it again. Let's do it all again. And there were some stories that came out that said it wasn't as smooth off the field as it was on the field. So, like, that's a different conversation. I guess my point is people point to the Bengals and say you can't pay 2 wide receivers and you can't do this. You can't pay this guy right now. And I think the first thing that's important to know is that the franchise tag, and I say this over and over, so I think people who watch my show know this, but the franchise tag is really not a help if you're trying to build a champion, because the franchise tag hits the cap all in 1 year. So, like, when people say that they don't have the money to do it, or we don't have the money to do it, yes, you do. If you got the money to tag them, you got the money to sign them and extend them. So, like, you actually have a better chance of building a better roster if you backload a contract and sign a guy right now than franchise tag him. And so that part kind of bothers me. And then the other thing is, I think it goes to your creativity point, is I hate that so many GMs and coaches and owners live in a state of fear where there is a template, and if you stray too far away from the template, you're considered stupid, which I feel like that, like, discourages the creativity. And, like, there's nothing smart about following the template. Creating the template, figuring out the keys that built the template, them dudes was smart. You following it ain't, like, that's not smart. You're not strategic. You're not creative.
Yeah, I saw you make the point that I agree with as it related to the Luka trade. Nico made a bad decision. He shouldn't have done it. But hey, I ain't going to act like that. He takes some heart. Like, I see people like, it didn't take heart. It was just ego. Yeah, I hear you. But he ain't got the biggest ego in the world, right? He had the nerve to say, I'm probably going to get fired for this, but I'm going to do it.
I love it.
There is absolutely something to that. Now, the thing with the comparison between keeping Higgins and keeping Jamar Chase with the Cowboys and with their CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens thing, where this becomes interesting to me is that, yes, the Bengals have the worst defense in captivity. Yep. But they didn't necessarily have to have the worst defense in captivity. Like, there are ways to kind of work around that. And I think you and I are in a similar boat on this one. I think the Cowboys are I think Jerry's not really the football man anymore, but I always thought Jerry was a better football man than he got credit for being. I think Steven's a better football man than they get credit for being. They have a bad defense, but not in a way that can absolutely not be fixed.
And I guess that's my point, is the Bengals example is going to be an example used to perpetuate this kind of groupthink of how you can behave and how you can build a team. And I don't think that's fair. Ultimately, of course, this is a different route and maybe it will be more challenging, but it can be done. What it boils down to is you can do anything if you draft well. And you know what, the Cowboys, of all the teams in the NFL, Cowboys kind of consistently, they kind of draft well.
And by the way, and when they made picks we thought were crazy, they work out. Like both the Tylers, right? Like Tyler Smith, we were like, what are you doing? apparently something very wise, right? They do the Bill Belichick thing and it works.
How awesome is that? Like, I don't know. That's the thing that bothers me. And I guess part of it makes it even better when we all jump on their head. But that's the thing that bothers me about jumping on people's head is it discourages them from taking a risk. And then it's so cool when it works. I'm sure Bills fans to this day go back to how we all reacted to Josh Allen being drafted. And they are so happy about it because they were right, or what Brandon Beane was right. Like, that feels good.
Yeah. Yeah, they
wow. I know they weren't.
I'm just saying this. I was right when I was right, but I've never been happier to be wrong.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Josh Allen got there, we was all just like, all right, cool, let me get 2 tickets to the show, please.
You can't say you was right when you was right, though. That's a trap door that you sneaking through.
No. This is what I mean. Okay. I did not think that he would turn out to be good, and I thought he would get everybody fired, and instead he got everybody raises. Okay. Like, I want to be very clear about like where I was absolutely wrong. Like, in the macro, I was wrong, but there were 2 years when that boy was cheeks. Yeah. And they all tried to tell me that he was not cheeks.
Okay. Yeah, right? That's a different conversation.
And if they were not so dedicated to that, they'd have been right over there with us.
I guess.
But instead, I give them credit. Yeah. They rode it all the way out, and it came up a winner.
I guess I get what you're saying. You're right about that. I, on the other hand, was wrong because I said don't draft him. You blew it. You made a mistake.
I did say that. Okay, so
no matter how long that took, I was wrong. As heck.
You're right.
So that's all. But you're right. When people were saying he was good, but he was bad, they were wrong. We were right. But then we've been wrong. We've been wrong ever since.
Yeah, but they was guessing. They ain't really believe that man. Like, I think that's what it is. Yeah. I don't want to give them no credit.
That's the problem.
They were not operating from a position of information.
That's fair.
Like, you go pull out them Josh Allen blooper reels from he was at Wyoming. Man, get out of here.
That's fair.
Are you serious?
I mean, the only person, like, the people who drafted him, they can do that. I think they can say, we saw it and we worked through it, we got it good, and we knew that Diggs was going to crack the code, and now he hasn't looked back ever since, and they ain't get him no receiver since then either.
All right, look, man, is he gonna be our Marino where it ain't your fault? It ain't your fault y'all won, but we're not gonna say it's your fault that y'all lost.
I looked, he probably is, but I looked up what could possibly be the curse in Buffalo because, like, past Josh Allen, like, we know they were lost for, like, that is a bad situation. They can't get it done. Maybe the new stadium will help, but I did find an article a couple years ago that the original creator of the Buffalo Wings.
Oh.
It's a black man.
Interesting. And they ain't giving him
no
enough credit. Thank you. Well, also, I could argue, I'm still salty with them with the way they treated Tyrod that year that he got y'all to the playoffs for the first time in 19 years, and y'all put him on the bench for the Peterman, and then had to take the Peterman out of that game after 5 interceptions. Tyrod better than me. I'd have been over that with church socks on. I wouldn't have been able to get back in the game. I ain't got the proper equipment in order to participate in this.
That was the year before, right?
It was the year before they drafted Josh Allen,
See? So I respect the NFL. They put a curtain in front of that tanking. They slipped the Peterman in there on you. So
they tried, and he was so good at it. He was like, yo, you can't. Because, Sean McDermott, if you read that Tyler Dunn article from a couple years ago where McDermott was like, he looked at Cam Newton as the problem in Carolina. Like, he's like, imagine how good we could have been if it worked for Cam Newton.
That's insanity. That's
right, and he's the same guy that thought that putting the Peterman. That's the thing. I don't think McDermott was trying to tank. I think McDermott thought that the Peterman was going to be the secret to success.
Yeah, I think you're right. Which is absolutely insane. Like, Cam Newton was not the problem down there, and
the problem.
Peterman wasn't the answer. But,
they jumped bait on that one. Like, hey, you ready to? Tyrod, just want to know maybe you could get back in the game.
Oh, man, I appreciate you, Bomani, for making some time for me. I can tell people where to find you, but if they hear, they probably already. I still get probably more. It's probably 75% of the time I'm out is like my show and Get Up is still like I feel like my star has grown, but still, like, if there's one thing that I get like hollered at more than anything, it's like, hey, the right time. Appreciate the right time. I love you,
Yeah.
Bomani. I'm like, I got a show too.
You know what my favorite part about that is? I love the fact that means they know my show very well because they come up and tell y'all that and then largely leave me alone. I do not have an approachable spirit. But I'll tell you this, though. This is real. I'll never forget this. Like, the most gratifying somebody recognized me in public ever was like 15 years ago. I went when Miami, the first LeBron year, I went out to LA to do Jim Rome's show. And I went, see, in LA, if you wanted to go to a basketball game back then, but you ain't had no money, you went to the Clippers game. Right? So me and Marcus Vandenberg went, and I'll never forget a dude walked up to me and was like, yo, I really like the podcast. And I was doing the Evening Jones. And it feels different when they like the podcast.
For
or
sure.
a podcast is something you've been a regular on. Like, you're not just a hype beast when somebody does
And
that.
and there's a different clientele. I feel like before I had my own show, the people who would come up to me were one of two people. It was like a random high amount of like celebrities that recognize me and a high amount of like people who ain't doing And then I realized who got time to watch TV the time when I'm on TV. People with a lot of or people with not that much.
A very interesting two Americas.
But with the podcast, like people listen to it all the time. So it's like on your commute, it's whatever. It's like the podcast, I feel like I have more contact with normal people. And
that's a great
TV,
point.
I feel like it's more like other ends of the spectrum. Because like you could say that your clips show up on social media, but the only clips that get to people on social media are the ones where it's like super hype nonsense arguing or yelling or something or saying something dumb, and then those get to everybody.
Yeah, brother, I have retired from anything anybody says directly to me on the internet.
Yeah, good.
I no longer really care what they post on social because I'm not going to listen to the response no more. Y'all got it. Whatever. I can't. Yeah, them bots going to have to holler at somebody else.
I got to get my man Charlie to start reading the comments, but I'm post comments too.
No, what you need to do is you need to get him and Joel on there at the same time, and we can stage an intervention. I'll jump in if you need it.
Please do. All right, Bomani, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for making the time for us.
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks to all the great producers.
We out. This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.